My name is Feuring. I'm 34 years old, and for the last 16 years of my life, I've done nothing but prepare for a career as a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And I did it. I made it to the professional level. But 3 fights in, the COVID lockdowns happened. And I just keep getting older, and now it hasn't happened the way that I wanted it to happen. And I'm left with nothing. You know, in movies and video games and books, our heroes always go through great conflict to get to who they are at the end of those stories. And that usually means failing a lot. And I know I sure have. And you gotta be honest, we love to see people fail.
So what the hell are we doing here? No, not middling in the limbo of my early 30s. Here at the Everyday Kitchen, a donut staple in my city, to meet one of my best friends, former training partner, and in fact the executive producer on this pilot, Scott Bouchard. We're here to reflect on our careers as fighters, what went wrong, and perhaps more optimistically, what went right. Let's go. Hey buddy! Your beard is getting long. The beard's big. You know, there's a thing in Viking culture where when they fail in battle, they just have to let it grow and grow, and they can't cut it until they win again.
So when are you?
I made that up. I made that up. Right.
I was like,
total lie.
If that's the thing, I'm like, when do you cut it?
No, total lie. You know, I quit coaching on December 23rd of 2022. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a few months now, and right when that happened, I was just like, I was thinking I needed to do something that I want to treat it almost like a fight camp where, you know, for people that don't know, when fighters have a fight camp, sometimes they'll grow a fight beard. Think of Rocky IV, like they'll actually grow it out, and I just wanted to keep growing it until I got to the stage where I was satisfied with what I was doing in my life. And okay. That became this project, and I wanted to get this done and make this move forward because I wasn't doing anything that I was happy with at that time.
Yeah, so the beard represents that. So you're gonna cut it off when you feel that success is coming.
When I feel like I'm satisfied with how my life is moving in the right direction.
Interesting.
Now. Yeah.
What if it gets down to here? It's like it's like you're a tree, like the rings in a tree.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
If it gets too long, I think I just have to jump off a cliff at that point.
At this point, yeah. At that point, you could.
Right now, we're doing okay. We're doing all right. So Scott was one of my main training partners before COVID happened. So COVID basically decimated our entire team. You know, we had one of the hottest up and coming amateur fight teams in Canada, really. We had a really good team, and people were competing all the time at the amateur level and me at the pro level, and we had a couple other pros, but it was really COVID that kind of killed the team.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be in the gym training. You can't really, it's not like typical workouts. Like, you got to be honing your skills, and I think when you don't have the gym or the outlet, you get pretty tough. You know,
you got to be showing up to the practices to get the fight, right? Mm-hmm. And it was so crushing for so many people on our team, where all of a sudden it's like you might not be able to compete for another year, 2 years, 3 years. We had no timeline with how things were going to return. Are you satisfied with the competition that you've had?
So I come from like a very small town, and like where you can't find any training gyms like within a couple hours. So I'm always going to be proud of like where my career came from and like where it started, because I don't think anybody's done what I've done from my town. I just think it's one of those things that I'm known for that back home. Everybody knows it, and I think it's kind of cool to be like that guy who got to compete in MMA and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was always with just the one fight in boxing, like when I started, and then to like take time off and go to kickboxing and do that, and then MMA, and it was just really cool. I don't think I'm done though. I think I'm done with MMA,
Yeah.
but I think Muay Thai. I'm in talks right now to compete. That's pretty exciting because I haven't done Muay Thai yet. What's going on with you? You finished with fighting?
So I'm 34, and the juice has to be worth the squeeze, so to speak, right? You know, I'm not gonna risk my health and longevity at this stage for a few $1,000s.
Sure. Martial arts doesn't really leave you. I find like I feel like as long as I can do it and I'm healthy, I always will. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, you're always gonna train? What's the training like? What's your motivation behind it?
You know, I'm always gonna train, and because I like it first and foremost, as opposed to other types of fitness, like strength and conditioning. I enjoy to a degree, but it's so much harder for me to be motivated doing that. And despite the fact that we have donuts at the table, this is not the shape that I'm happy with. I want to be closer to fight shape. I've let the layoff get to me.
Mm-hmm. You're behind a camera, so you can always like CGI like a top back onto yourself. It's just
The worst.
just bronze tan. Like,
You know, it's always great talking with my friend Scott, but I don't know that that's the clarity that I was looking for when it comes to my career and future. So I'm going to Expedition Jiu-Jitsu to train with one of my oldest training partners and friends, Shayne Landherr.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see ya. Good.
Ready to train?
Yeah. What do you want to do?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu only. We'll do some kickboxing, a little bit of MMA. It'll be fine. Let's go.
My name's Shayne Landherr. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I teach here at Expedition Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here in Regina. I have 20 years experience in martial arts. Come to the waist and then step out and come to a flying walk. Huge dominant position to get to the back, so usually I'll try if I can get them down to their knees. You strike and set up the choke, anything like that.
You want to do one straight to the ground?
Yeah, sure. So.
Good job. Let's grab some lunch. talk about your own amateur career, because you were super successful as an amateur when you started fighting MMA.
So I took my first fight about 7 months into training jiu-jitsu. Back then, there wasn't many people that actually trained like mixed martial arts or even jiu-jitsu, so definitely had a leg up on the oppositions, my opponents anyway. My first fight was against a local guy who had a terrible, terrible record of something in the neighborhood of 1-5, possibly.
I hope he doesn't see this and know that we're talking about him.
Sorry.
He knows.
I wasn't really stoked on taking that opponent because of his record, but it was my first fight, so I thought, whatever. Do it. Won that one by TKO.
TKO, for people that don't know, is technical knockout.
My third and fourth fights, they were actually both happened to be kickboxers who were or trained mixed martial arts, but were primarily kickboxers. Submitted both of them. Both rear naked chokes. So ended my career as an amateur at 4-0.
It was tough to get to like high level people right off the bat. It was either they're really experienced or not that experienced at all, right?
I didn't want to take any more fights unless I was going to take it seriously. And not so much I wasn't willing to. I didn't feel like my coach had invested in me enough to, to get me to the next level. Just speaking on that, in my last fight, one of my fondest memories of my fights was being backstage after my last fight, throwing up due to the exhaustion. So I didn't really train. Like I trained, but not for the level that I was getting into. But that was basically it, and I never really got back into it. I still love training it. Obviously, like having you as a training partner for years and helping me get back into shape, like through COVID and stuff, I super appreciative of that. And like MMA was, because I couldn't even grapple after taking so much time off of like due to COVID.
And people like, so the city that we live in, there's lots of people that are interested in MMA, but even the people that have done extremely well, I would still say there's not that many high-level training partners that you can just say, hey, so-and-so, do you want to come train MMA today? And you 100% know how that situation is going to go. A lot of people show interest in it, and maybe they're more of a striker, doesn't really know the grappling side, or vice versa. Maybe they're a grappler that doesn't know the striking side. So the training partners that are complete, actual mixed martial artists, there really aren't that many people that can just do that on the fly.
And if they are, there could be egos involved where you don't actually benefit from the training. Just turn into fighting,
Right.
which was a lot of like back in the day where it was just turned into fighting to prepare for fights. Like you have people who are all training for fights, and it's just like, if they're close to your size or even in your weight class, like you become competitive with them, and then maybe not so much in a friendly aspect.
That's right, and you're absolutely right about training partners. A lot of them, they as far as they're going to go in their career is scrapping in the gym, and so some people will take it too far and make it like an actual fight, right?
And like that's fair enough, but like you still got to look after your training partners.
So are you happy with where you walked away? Did you? I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but for the audience, like, have you thought about doing any other like one more comeback fight? It never really leaves you as a fighter. You're always kind of like, well, maybe one more, right?
So there's still obviously like something that drives an individual to continue training for literally almost 20 years. Like there's a competitiveness, there's ego to an extent. It's I like to think it's in check, but that's I think what actually continues to push the hobbyist to continue, right? Like you want to not let the young guy get the one up on you, so you got to keep training, otherwise he will surpass you. But serious thought of fighting again? No. Just it's I'm over 40 years old. To find somebody that would take a fight to another 40-year-old, I don't know.
I think that's a nice juxtaposition to compare it to my pro debut, which you were cage side for. And Shayne helped me train extensively for that fight. You helped me probably more than anyone to get ready for that. And then traveling 12 hours to get to the event, cage side, I get finished in like a minute and a half.
Being a cornerman is a very interesting seat to fill, because there's this like nervousness because you have no control over what's about to transpire. And literally the worst case scenario I think that every fighter fears is getting like flash KO'd within, one or two. It had to have been like the first.
It was literally.
It was the first clean shot.
Yeah, it was
Like,
literally the first punch he hit me with, basically. And he just happened to hit me exactly in the right spot. Lights went off for a tenth of a second. I hit the ground and I was awake.
He comes in at 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing at 170 1/2 pounds, making his professional debut from Regina, Saskatchewan, Jared Feuring.
All right, Big John calls it on. Nice spinning heel kick for kick. Makes it a good shot. Oh, and he's out. That's it. That's all she wrote, folks. That's all she wrote.
It's just such a deflating feeling, like going like, like feeling, I know you're going to be okay, physically, wasn't a bad beating where you're going to take a lot of brain damage or anything like that. It was a quick little snap KO, I don't even think you lost consciousness. For maybe
Literally less than a second. As soon as I hit the ground, I was awake and aware.
up and like, okay, oh shit, like you knew what had happened. And
For the record, by the way, not to interrupt, but I don't want anyone confusing this with me being like, oh shucks, I could have kept going. It's like, no, that was a good stoppage. That guy would have beat my ass.
it's just a disappointment, right? And I had those fears training for all of my fights, even against like, way less skilled opponents. They always have that one chance, just hit you in the right spot. If you move a fraction of an inch and miss that block, like your hand was up blocking and it had just slipped through right where you were supposed to be blocking, and it just slipped through, landed clean. Nothing you can do except the outcome, really. And that's
I got another fight maybe 4 months later, and it was the exact opposite. It was like flawless victory for me. I beat the guy almost in like the same amount of time. It was like a minute 30 almost, except it was in my favor this time. And it shows you how quickly the tides can turn, right, for something like MMA. Are you satisfied with what you did with your career? Are you happy with what you accomplished? And what has martial arts done for your life? Like me, I feel like it's everything.
It's just like a part of who I am now. I can't imagine it not being a part of my life. Both my kids do it. We get to share that. Huge part of mine. And MMA, yeah, I've put that kind of behind me. I'm happy what I did. It's kind of a cool thing to, reflect on. And you retired yet, or?
So, officially, I am retired from competition. Moving on, and I want to take that same attitude that I've had towards competition, and like I don't want to have a woe is me attitude, but I really got dealt a lot of really bad luck in my career. I went through a long period of time where I was signed on for fights and the opponents didn't show up. 6 fights in a row. I was prepared for fights and they didn't happen, and then I finally get a fight. Right after that, COVID lockdowns. So I have had quite a bit of bad luck, but there's nothing that you can do about that. And I keep getting older, so it's time to focus that energy onto something different. And although I'm not going to ever stop being a martial artist like you, I am going to try to take that and move it forward into what I want to do in my life, which is this. I want to work in film and do this type of thing where I can highlight other people and other martial artists, because everybody has their own story and their own origin and their own journey through martial arts, regardless of what that sport is.
We love to see people fail because we love the comeback. We love to see people faced with adversity and overcome it. One of the most relatable human experiences is overcoming personal darkness. And so we love the Phoenix story. To rise from the ashes a stronger, wiser person. We don't always win in the moment, but it's not about that. It's about perseverance. And if there's one thing that I know about myself, it's that I can persevere as well as anyone on this planet. And so this isn't the end of my martial arts journey. This is just a different beginning.
Yeah, so the beard represents that. So you're gonna cut it off when you feel that success is coming.